Konnichiwa. Watashi no namae wa Andy desu. O genki desu ka? Yokoso. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Andy. How's everybody doing today? I am glad you're able to join me on studying some kanji. I'm excited because we're starting to get towards, well, we're past the middle of our kanji learning of our Kanken 10 of our Tokeni Andy series. Yes, I am also watching a YouTuber with my same name. Isho Tokeni Andy. He's got a bunch of great content. But right now I am following his series on kanji. And we are on video 15. 15? Is that correct? Okay, we are on lesson 14 out of, I believe, 23. 20, yeah. So we're on 14 of 23. So that's good. That's awesome. We're making progress. And before the video started, I went ahead and reviewed my previous kanjis, made sure I knew them, and as Tokeni Andy describes, we are not learning the readings yet. We're just learning the meanings, so that kind of takes some pressure off of us for now. So if you're ready to start, get your notebook ready, and as I have set up before, write kanji, the meaning, and the story. And we will get started in 3, 2, 1.
This kanji looks like an axe or blade of some sort to me, or maybe a dragon's eye, but it means evening. The official radical of evening is evening, which you were probably able to guess at this point. We can...
Okay, so I'm going to pause it here so I can copy this down into my notebook under the kanji column. So stroke order. 1, 2, 3. Evening. Okay.
Sort of break it down into a no part, a fu part, and a dot. We write it in exactly that order. We start with the no part and attach the top of the single stroke in fu to that. The dot is drawn enclosed within those. Historically, this was exactly the same as the kanji for moon. Like, they were exactly the same kanji. It wasn't until the Western Zhou dynasty, or sometime around 1045 BC to 771 BC, that these two kanji were differentiated from each other, with the one we're learning here coming to mean evening or nighttime. For our story, we'll picture a play happening on stage with our characters No and Fu. You can see No and Fu dangling on stage, taking on the role of the evening moon. appearing as a dot within fu, a pictograph of the moon in the evening. Remember, can be a way to express a quiet laugh in text in Japanese. Also remember.
Yo. What? I have been really enjoying these this series from him, but sometimes sometimes these are like so wild. You can see the no particle and Fu dangling on stage, taking on the role of the evening moon. Fu 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 appearing as a dot within Fu. What? Fu 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 appearing as a dot? Oh my goodness. That's really appearing as a dot within Fu. A pictograph of a moon in the evening. Guys, I gotta tell you,
Of the moon in the
that takes a lot of mental energy to like put all of that together.
evening. Remember, can be a way to express a quiet laugh in text in Japanese. Also remember that it's a good idea to pause the video after each story and really try to imagine it, or to create a story of your own that will help you remember the kanji even better. Make sure the story contains the meaning and every single part in some way.
Now, why is it important that I have the parts? Why? So I can write it later? I guess. So, meaning is evening. I'm gonna be honest, some of these for myself, I just remember. And like adding these stories is just a lot of extra space in my head. Some of them can help, but like that one is too much. How will I remember this one? I have to think about this. In the evening, no and fu. Okay, this is like. Do we remember? Does anyone know this movie? This famous movie? Well, what's the famous scene from this movie, right? This scene right here. This scene right here. Why is that so tiny? Famous scene. Famous scene. Why is it so tiny? Uh-huh. Get out of here. Okay. Here's the famous scene from Dirty Dancing. I'm just going to say No and Fu practice dirty dancing in the evening. Do we see it? Do we see this right here? That, to me, what's going on here? There we go. I think that that looks very similar. Can I put these side by side? Is that possible? I don't think so. Not with the way I have it set up. I'm sorry. But I think that that is what we're going to go with. Yeah. Okay. Are we seeing what I'm seeing? No and Fu practice dirty dancing in the evening. That's what I'm doing. And see, like, I think that once you like create a story like that, let me write this down real quick. No and Fu practice dirty dancing in the evening. And the thing is like once you come up with, and like he says, yeah, once you come up with your own, you're gonna remember it better. But also, isn't like 6 words better than a paragraph that's like super convoluted? I think that this is a much easier pictograph of like a little thing dancing or like being held up. Get out of here. That makes more sense. Okay, let's continue.
Evening is clearly a part of this next
What is this, evening and mouth?
very common kanji, which means name. You're going to see this one a
What?
lot,
Oh,
so
my.
you'll get used to it very fast. Appropriately, the official radical for this kanji is mouth. This makes sense since you call out names with your mouth,
Yeah, that does
not
make
with
sense.
your evening, whatever that is. The parts, though, are clearly evening and mouth combined.
So, yeah, I mean,
There are
you can write that down if you want.
6 strokes
It's
in
pretty
name.
obvious to me.
We start with evening, drawing the no followed by the fu part. We enclose the dot inside of those 2 strokes
One,
before moving on to
2,
the 3 strokes in mouth.
3.
Vertical, upside down L, and horizontal. I find the
4.
history of this character fascinating. In fact, I don't even think you'll need a story after this.
5.
Apparently, these parts were chosen for this kanji because when it gets dark out and you run into someone,
6.
you need to call out your name to them so everyone knows who they're dealing with. Makes sense, right? Anyway, the parts have always been the same. I said we don't need a story.
Say that
Everyone
again.
knows who they're dealing
I
with.
was writing it.
Makes sense, right? You need to call out your name to them so everyone knows who they're dealing with. Makes sense, right?
So, okay.
Anyway, the parts have always been the same. I said we don't need a story, but I have one for you anyway. We're back on the stage for the play we learned about.
No, we're not doing that. I'm just going to say, so this is, meaning is name, and then I'm going to write, the story is, in the evening, it is dark, so you need to yell so people can find you. Straight to the point.
Out in the story for evening. Below the evening stars.
Okay.
Bringing us to our first.
Did we get that? No offense, Tokeny Andy, I love your series, but I think whatever. Some of your stories are okay, but I think they're usually too convoluted. In the evening. Did I skip a word? In the evening, it is so dark. I did skip a word. I'm trying to write too fast. In the evening, it is so dark, you need to yell so people can find you.
First part, which means spoon.
Okay. Doesn't that look like our... That looks like our 7? It's real close to 7.
Since this is just a radical, we won't be learning
Oh.
any radicals for it. What? Really? Understood. Fine. It's a kanji. It can be used for the word spoon, and it is its own radical. But we're not learning it as a kanji because it's literally kanken level 1, which is completely unnecessary. We can break
Okay, kanken level 1.
this kanji down into a fishhook and curvy line if we want. I think it's fine to keep this as its only part though.
Yeah.
There are 2 simple strokes in spoon. We draw the curved line first,
So,
and then the
are we
fishhook-like
putting this as a
stroke
rad?
next. In calligraphy and writing, sometimes this line will cut through the first stroke.
Alright, so under kanji. Wait a second. That looks like the hiragana he. Does it not? Yeah, it does.
In computer fonts, it looks much more like the katakana hi. Historically, this was apparently a pictograph of a spoon, but to me it looks a lot more like a person preparing to dive into a swimming pool. Hit the subscribe button if you see that too. For our story, we're gonna say that it's a pictograph of an arm holding a big spoon, which the modern form does kind of look like, although it's more of a ladle than a spoon, I guess.
Pictograph of an arm holding a big spoon. Okay, meaning spoon and story. Yeah, I'm just gonna say pictograph, remember or memorize. Pictograph / memorize. Like I said, some of these I think it's so much easier to just
spoon, I guess. The first kanji we're learning that has spoon as a part is change, as in to change, not the change in your pocket or in your couch cushions. The official radical for change
so this is kind of a verb.
Is spoon, and not the person part on the left in the hen position. Interestingly, person on the left usually means a kanji has something to do with people or things that they do. This one is actually not so much of an exception if you read the historical evolution of the character. Getting ahead of myself though. There are 4 strokes in change. We start with person on the left, drawing the no-like stroke on top and the staff-like stroke below it. We then draw the curved stroke right to left in spoon and the hook, sometimes, through the curved stroke. I find the history of this kanji very fun. If you look at the 2 earliest forms, you might notice something interesting. The 2 sides of this kanji are mirror images, with the one on the right also upside down. These are actually both supposed to be person, with the upside down reverse of person indicating the change in position, or the change that a person can make. Super cool, right? After that, the part on the right changed so much that it took on a life of its own and became a spoon or something. For our story, we have Ando-san peeking around a corner trying to change the ingredients in spoon. Because remember, our person is always Ando-san.
Okay, let me think about this for a second. Change. So
As in, to change, not the change in your pocket or in your couch cushions.
yes.
The official radical for change is spoon, and not the person part on the left in the hen position. Interestingly, person on the left usually means a kanji has something to do with people or things that they do. This one is actually not so much of an exception if you read the historical the no-like stroke on top of the curves are mirror. Actually both supposed to be person, with the upside down reverse of person indicating the change in position, or the change that a person can make. Super cool, right? After that, the part on the right changed so much that it took on a life of its own and became a spoon or something. For our story, we have...
Okay. So I think that I could probably remember this just by the evolution of the kanji with the change, right?
have Ando-san.
But do wait a second. Is spoon? Spoon is not. Let me go back. This is different. Wait, right?
Down into a fishhook and curvy line if we want. And the fishhook-like stroke next. In calligraphy and writing, sometimes this line will cut through the first stroke.
Oh, okay.
In computer fonts, it looks much more like the katakana hi, something to do
Gotcha.
with people or things.
Okay, so I'm just gonna make this story when you change cereal bowls you also need a new spoon. Okay.
Things that they do. This one thing interesting. Ando-san. The next part we're going to learn is the grass radical. We learned in an earlier video that 8 horse-leg crown is technically a different form of this radical. Anyway, in Japanese, this is called kusakamuri, or grass crown. So we're staying faithful to the original here. This one is, I promise, just a radical, not a kanji. So no radical. And it is its only part. There are 3 strokes in this radical. We draw the horizontal line first, and then the 2 blades of grass through it. Historically, this appears to have evolved from this cool little guy, and it was originally simplified to have 4 strokes, basically being 2 little tens, but then was simplified even more for the Joyo standard kanji into this. For our story, we're going with a pictograph, because this one is easy. This is just grass coming out of the ground.
Okay. I actually don't think that that looks like grass coming out of the ground, but I'm just going to go with that. Okay.
The first kanji we'll meet that uses the grass crown is flower. Makes sense, right? The official radical is grass radical. Although The first kanji we'll meet that uses the grass crown is flower.
Flower. I think I just learned. I know we're not supposed to technically learn this, but in my Anki deck, one of the practice sentences, the practice sentence was hana wa kiroi desu. Right? Hana wa kiroi desu. The flowers are yellow. Okay, so grass. Okay, I like that. The grass changes to flowers. That's gonna be my sentence. Flower. Okay, and I'm just gonna write that down right now. The grass or should I write
Makes sense, right? The official radical is grass radical. Although I should mention that in Japanese dictionaries, it's listed as this. The parts are clearly defined as a grass radical and change. There are 7 strokes in flower. They're written exactly as we'd expect. We first write the 3 strokes in grass radical on top, since it is a crown. We then draw the 2 strokes in person on the left, and finally the spoon, diagonal stroke first, followed by the hook part. I couldn't find any cool diagrams for how this one specifically evolved because it's actually a fairly new creation. This is actually an abbreviated or simplified version of this kanji, which still exists. The top stayed the same, but for the bottom, they used change to indicate the Chinese reading, which is usually ka. God, I'm loving learning about the history of all these kanji. It makes them so much easier to understand. Anyway, that original form evolved in this way. Strong ghost Pokemon vibes. Let me know if you see it down in the comments. Or let me know what stories you created for all these kanji. For this kanji, we're going with a pictographic story. A flower is just grass, you think, that changes into flowers.
Okay, I'll give
As
it
in,
to you.
You think or imagine that it's just grass. Obviously, it's not that simple. This kanji.
That one we did align with the same story. Finally. I have to write a new column here because my page is finished. Kanji, meaning, and story. Okay. And let's continue.
Kanji kind of looks like trees or something. Or perhaps 2-letter T's with flair? I say trees because this kanji means bamboo. The official radical of bamboo is bamboo. We can break it down into 3 parts though. No lying down, a staff, and a feathered broomstick. For our story though, we're just going to be using the no lying down part for this one. There are 6 strokes in bamboo. You might expect to do the 2 no lying down parts first, as if they're a crown, but
Okay. No lying down. Staff.
But we actually separate this into a part on the left and right and do them both separately. The first no lying down on the left comes first, followed by the staff that holds it up. Then we draw the no lying down on the right and the feathered broomstick, this one made of bamboo, I guess, holding it up. Historically, this is said to have been a pictograph of bamboo with leaves hanging down from its branches. It's still supposed to be that. I personally see 2 hands reaching down from the heavens, granting the people of ancient China bamboo seed by the people from the stars. But you do you, historians. For our story, we're going to say we've got two no lying down on top of a bamboo forest. You could go with making the stroke on the right a feathered broomstick made out of bamboo that the no lying down is on top of, indicating what can be made from bamboo, the bamboo on the left, that is. But that's up to you, too.
Again, let me see here. I keep covering up when I'm writing with my microphone. Bamboo. I think it looks enough like a bamboo tree that I
That brings
can
us
just
to the
remember
lesson 14 quiz.
Oh, nice. I thought there was another one. So we learned bamboo, flower, grass. Oh, that was the radical. Flower, to change, name, and evening. Okay, so we have evening, which was No and Fu are practicing dirty dancing in the evening, which was this. And then name is just evening and mouth put together, which makes sense because you have to yell when it gets dark. And it's dark in the evening. To change, and we learned the radical spoon, and change is in spoon. I'm sorry, spoon is in the kanji change. So I said, when you change cereal bowls, you also need a spoon. I guess you would need a new spoon is what I meant. And then for flower, the grass changes into flowers. That seems simple enough. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and highlight what I've done here. I'm going to highlight my kanji, which will just take a second. And then after that, okay, evening, namae, to change, and flower. Okay. Here we go. And we're one step closer to having our Konken 100, or I'm sorry, our Konken 10. So very cool. Thank you for coming along. Thank you for studying with me. Let's just keep plugging away, and we will get it. Yeah. I've studied quite a bit today. Today was my day off. I've done about 45 minutes of Anki because I really did a lot of sample sentences practice. And so that, that took longer. I could have just done the actual words themselves, but I spent a lot of time doing some studying on the particles in the sentences and learning some of the sentence structure, and just taking my time with it. And I actually learned quite a bit. So thanks again. Thanks for coming along. If you made it this far in the video, goodness gracious, thank you so much. Yeah, that'll be it for today. I'll see you in the next video. Arigato. Let me try that again. Arigatou gozaimashita. Ganbatte. Mata ne. Bye bye.